Welcome back to talkSPORT Endzone, talkSPORT's dedicated NFL YouTube channel. Remember, for all the brilliant content, to access, to like, to subscribe, and to comment as well. We really appreciate you guys and the love you've been showing us over the last couple of months. Plenty of player interviews, and it's a pleasure to say we've got another one coming up for you right now. The New York Jets in action against the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. It's a pleasure to say I'm joined by a member of the all-rookie team from last year, 2023. Jets starting center Joe Tippman joins us on talkSPORT Endzone. Joe, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. I appreciate you having me, Will.
Joe, let's start by reflecting on the record. And I appreciate it's difficult at a time when, players, the organization hoped for a different season to what we've seen so far. Currently 3-7. Firstly, how are the team feeling right now?
We're feeling good. We know that we just got to keep building. We can't look at, the past, and we can't look too far into the future. We just got to kind of focus in on what we got in front of us and keep chipping away, keep our sights on the task at hand. And so as long as we do that, our locker room's in good spirits. We know what we got to get done, and we got to, kind of our plan to attack it. So that's kind of the spot we're in right now.
What were some of those key messages after that defeat on Sunday to Arizona, whether it be the players in the locker room, from the coaches as well? What were some of the key things that were said, do you think?
Yeah, I think a big thing was just finish, on offense and defense. We took two or three trips down to the red zone, and all we had to show for it was 6 points from field goals. So that's a big thing, is just finish. We got to finish every single play, finish, it starts early in the week. You got to finish practice, finish the day, win the day, and each and every day you got to finish. And then that leads up to the game. And uh, at the end of the day, we finished with 31-6 or something. That's not what we're looking for. So that was one of the big messages from the team.
In terms of practice, you mentioned it there. So much has been made of practice in the last few weeks that, players have been saying that practice has been going really well, but it's been struggling to transition that onto the field. Why do you think that is? Where do you think that struggle has come from, do you think?
I can't really put a finger on it. Guys are working their butts off each and every day at practice. So, um, I think maybe it comes down to just everybody focusing in on, their individual job instead of trying to do too much, trying to do other people's job. You just got to focus on your own task at hand. And that's been a big thing that I've kind of thought about personally for myself is, you know, don't try and do too much. What can I do to help myself and then maybe help the guy next to me? But first off, I got to do my job correct.
I wanted to ask you about some of the lessons that you've maybe learnt so far this season. I mentioned that you were part of the all-rookie team last year, the fact that you're starting center this year. What are some of the key takeaways that you've had so far, coming into week 11 really of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty that I've learned, and learned about myself, learned about the guys I'm playing with. But I'd say that's a big thing, is about the guys that I've been playing with, is just how far they're willing to go. I'm having these John Simpson, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, Elijah Vera Tucker. Those are all awesome guys who are willing to put everything they have out there on the field each and every time we take the field. So, I've just learned that I got a great O line, great guys that I'm working with, and kind of just see how far we can take it.
Who are some of those leaders in the locker room that you like to go to and maybe take things from, whether it's not just an on the field thing, but maybe leadership as well? You mentioned some of those guys in the O line there, but I'm just wondering, like I said, you're only in your second year in the league. So, in terms of adapting, developing, who are some of those guys that you like to sort of take things from and improve your game?
There's so many. I mean, even just on the O line, from John Simpson, Elijah, Morgan, Tyron, those are all guys that I go through, or go to with questions, about maybe their routines, how, keeping themselves healthy, what they do on a day-to-day basis for taking care of their body. And then also somebody that I go to a lot is Quinnen. Quinnen, he's done such a great job, kind of just being able to, I can pick his brain about, recovery, different aspects of the game that, don't take place on the field. But then, also each and every week I have a conversation with him about the opposing D line, just to see what he thinks about them, maybe if he knows these guys, maybe he doesn't know them, but knows how they play, and he's been a great leader for me, somebody that I can go to that I know is kind of going to give me some good advice, something that I can use for that week and then for kind of, my career.
You were with a variety of different quarterbacks last year, Zach, Trevor, Tim as well, and then with Aaron this year, a future Hall of Famer. How have you found that relationship building that with Aaron this year? Because I can imagine, like I said, a guy only second year in the league to be working with somebody of his stature, his charisma, and how special has that been for you? And what lessons have you taken from Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, it's really special. It's, uh, obviously, I didn't say him just because of how obvious it is. He's somebody who, day in and day out, I admire how hard he works, how I guess how he views the game, and that's been something that's huge for me, is just being able to pick his brain, and even like dealing with stuff that has nothing to do with him, just talking about maybe a first step, or ID and defenses and whatnot. He's somebody who has really helped me to kind of come along to learn and keep learning, just more and more about the game of football. And it just to have such a veteran guy, snapping the ball to him, it's a surreal experience, and it's something that I definitely don't take for granted.
In terms of cadence, that's been a big thing this year as well. I can imagine with Aaron having to build that relationship, like I mentioned. How challenging has that been? Because we know that Aaron likes to take his time under center in terms of winding the clock down. How challenging has that been for you in that situation, especially when you're snapping him the ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think, personally, is pretty easy to kind of stick with, just because, you know, it's always on the top of my mind because I got that ball in my hand. Once you get out to playing guard and stuff, you're thinking about your job, you're thinking about, trying to get your step, like get that first step, try and, get your advantage on the guys. So, it's definitely something that's definitely harder the further you go out from the center. But I think I've dealt with it pretty well. Something I think I can do better is just being able to communicate, figure out different ways to communicate the cadence, to the rest of the guys, just so that we're all on the same page, making sure we're not getting those cheap 5 yard penalties.
Final couple of questions from myself. I just wanted to ask about Olu Fashanu in particular and what we've seen from him as a rookie. This is a guy who has no experience as at guard, from what I'm aware of. And I was there at MetLife when he was playing against the Texans, and he was phenomenal being able to slot in like that. We've seen that versatility at right tackle, at left tackle as well. He must be such a bright spark going forward for this organization, especially what you've seen from the rookie.
Absolutely, yeah. Olu, he's an awesome guy. His work ethic, day in and day out, something that he, sometimes guys get into the league and it may take him a little bit to kind of become a pro, and he's not a guy that had that issue. He was somebody who, jumped right in. But talking about him playing guard, he had never played the position. He hadn't even stepped in practice or nothing. So for him to be able to just jump in there, he was a little shaken up at first. He's like, wait, I got to jump in at guard. But all the guys, and that's what I love about this O line. Every single guy was telling him, like, you don't have to worry about anything. Like, dude, you're a dog. Like, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna perform well. Maybe he went in for those first three plays, and we ran three passes, so they had the opportunity. Before we really were able to sit him down and like kind of just tell him kind of the ins and outs of the guard position. They were able to kind of dial him up a little bit. But after that, coming out of the half, we everybody was talking to him. Everybody was just trying to build that confidence in him, and to see him go out and play the rest of the game the way he did. And then Max Mitchell as well. He was in there playing guard as well. Just I'm really impressed by how well they did in their guard. And those Thursday games are usually there's something different. So at the end of the day, it comes down to just physicality and violence, and I think they both displayed that really well.
Coach Ulbrich is always talking about finding the positives, regardless of the record, regardless of the streak of, winless streak or whatever it may be. I just wanted to ask, 10 games into the season, where do you feel like the positives are right now, where you're trying to look and find positives within this team going forward? Because there's still a lot of ball to be played. I think some people maybe forget that.
Yeah, I think definitely some of the positives. first thing that comes to mind is John Simpson and AVT. Just to see how far they've come along, especially AVT coming off that injury. It just gives me a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season with their performance and kind of just how much they're willing to do, how much they're willing to sacrifice each and every day. So they're people that I really look up to, kind of how they attack each and every day, and it's something that I definitely kind of try and emulate, try and put into my schedule just because I admire them.
Finally, from myself, Aaron Rodgers mentioned this week about wanting to play into next year, into 2025, continue to show what he do, even at the age of 41. Is that something you'd like to see him to be your quarterback, standing behind you, you still snapping the ball to Aaron and building that relationship in another year?
Absolutely, absolutely. Aaron's just, I mean, he's such an awesome guy, and just to be able to continue with that veteran experience that he has, is something that, if possible, that's something that I really admire, and I would love to continue playing with him and developing our relationship on and off the field.
Colts this weekend, Anthony Richardson back in as the starter. Does that slightly make it more dangerous when you've got a player coming back in as the starter, a quarterback? We've seen on tape the positives that he has in his game. Does it make it more dangerous when it's somebody who's got something to prove as well coming in?
I guess I don't really have an opinion on that. I'd stick to the offensive side of the ball, our offensive side of the ball. So, I didn't even figure out that he was playing until later last night, I think it was, or maybe it was this morning. Um, but yeah, I think, he's an athlete. He's somebody who can create plays, create momentum. And so, we'll see.
Well, look, we look forward to seeing how it plays out, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us on talkSPORT Endzone. Really appreciate your time and all the best for this weekend and this season going forward as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Will.